This bike lane has had a huge positive impact on my life since it was built several years ago, but it didn't just fall from the sky. It only came about because of the hard work of citizens and advocates who fought to make their city better. But advocacy work like that can be really difficult. And so that's what today's video is about. 5 common mistakes that transportation advocates make, according to Carter Lavin, a veteran California climate and transportation activist and the author of this new book, If You Want to Win, You've Got to Fight, A Guide to Effective Transportation Advocacy. Let's dive right in.
1, 2, 3, go!
Mistake number 1, you versus the world. Okay, let's start here because I know this feeling well, because sometimes if you're bike commuting in some cities, you may feel very lonely out there. You may seem like you're the only person riding in a glass and gravel strewn gutter while being close passed by giant SUVs being driven by soccer moms and distracted dads who are scarfing down burgers on their phone while yelling at their kids in the back seat. But Carter says thinking this way is a mistake because you don't have to do this by yourself.
You're not a lone wolf who's magically able to do this all on your own. In fact, if you do all of the work on your own, all that tells your local mayor or politician is, wow, that one person really likes it. At the end of the day, the politician's job is not to make one person very happy. It's to make a lot of people happy. And so if you're not showing that a lot of people want this, you're in trouble. And if you come into the advocacy space with the sense of like, I'm the only great person, and if you think that everyone else in the world sucks, you're going to have a hard time. And one of my favorite examples I talk about from the book is from Megan Ramey, who is used to be self-described in her words, like that crazy bike lady. She was like, I was that one crazy person in town who rode bikes. A big part of what's changed is she got her local school principal on board, and they started doing kids' bike rides. And now it's not about making Megan happy. It's about protecting all those kids.
Mistake number 2, only building coalitions with bike people. And if you're talking about transportation advocacy, it can actually be a little bit easy to get bike people on board. I mean, there are groups of cyclists who can be a little bit unruly and maybe they don't always get along, but I would say most of them are on board with your cause if you're trying to improve cycling in your city. But Carter says if you stop building your coalition just at bike people, that's a big and pretty common mistake.
So when it comes to winning the thing that we want to win, we are going to have a lot more success if we build out coalitions, if we build out friends and partners. There's a question of like, well, okay, who will support this even if they themselves never get on a bike? And maybe that's a local business who is a sandwich shop. And they're like, look, I'm never going to ride a bike, but I really like how hungry these people show up to my store. Like, I really like that. And, maybe they don't want to protect the bike lane, but they might say, okay, and if the city has a free bike rack program, we can install a bike rack, or maybe they'll even help do it. It's like, okay, great. You just won something. There was something that wasn't there before that you won. And similarly, it's like, okay, well, how can we get houses of worship involved, or school groups, or other groups that are maybe people who like when kids bike? The adult might not do it, but that. And so helping kind of piece together these building blocks slowly but surely wins over friends and allies, and collectively you'll win so much more than you could ever win by yourself.
Mistake number 3, thinking too short term. So you want a bike lane in your city next month? Cool. But that's not going to happen. That's not the way these things work. Carter says transportation advocacy is a long-term thing, and you need to think that way. Thinking short-term leads to a lot of problems, not least of which is burnout among transportation advocates themselves. There's an old adage that if you're fighting for change that will happen within your lifetime, you're not being ambitious enough. That may be a bit extreme, but thinking that way has a lot of advantages, says Carter.
A fun fact about transportation advocacy is it doesn't end. There is no end. There is no, as long as there are people, as long as those people transport themselves or as things get transported to them, there will be transportation politics, because it is just the very nature of how we move affects others. And I think one thing where people get in trouble is when they think really short term and they say, oh, I want this. I want the Netherlands or Japan or, wherever, like Montreal, like, okay, that's not going to happen tomorrow. And it's not going to happen the day after tomorrow. But it didn't happen in those places overnight either. A lot of things happened. There was a lot of work. And so kind of pick your fights, daisy chain your fights so that they help continuously build to what you want, and using them as like stepping stones in that direction. And you're going to win a lot. And you can really start kind of making longer plans, bigger plans, and collectively winning a lot more.
Mistake number 4, separating culture wars from infrastructure. So in a lot of cities, there just isn't a culture of people getting around by bicycle. If you need to get somewhere, you just use your car. This is one of the biggest barriers to improving our cities. But Carter says changing the culture around transportation and cycling isn't enough. You also have to be prepared to connect that cultural change to a political one.
One way of doing the culture fight is saying, okay, if I live in a community where people don't really bike, okay, we'll start getting people on bikes. And maybe that's we have the singles mixer via bike. Maybe that's we do a biking brew tour or that's a coffee hour. It's like, okay, we're just getting people on bikes. Don't care how, don't care why, don't care who. That inherently shifts that culture. It's very easy to just do the culture fight. Like it's very easy. I mean, it's hard work, but it's easy to just be like, look, I host bike party and that consumes my soul. And I don't have time to pass out a flyer and that's great. You could just be the keeper of the hearth and like the person who throws the great party and saying, hey, does anyone want to like politically organize this crew? Like I can make a fun party. Someone should pass out a flyer and I can make an announcement being like, yep, the flyer is legit, sign the thing, do the thing. And so the more that we connect these things, the more that kind of the fun that we make and the culture that we shift starts winning the policy and infrastructure changes, which reaffirm that, which make it easier for us to host bigger events or more folks or change our culture, which then in turn helps us win more policies. And so it's about creating this like virtuous cycle, but that doesn't just automatically happen. That's the work that we have to do. So go do it.
Mistake number 5, no political consequences. Carter says one of the most important strategies for transportation advocates is to make it really difficult for decision makers to say no to you. And one of the ways you do that is to make sure that they're accountable for their decisions that they make. This isn't about personal conflict or retribution for decisions. This is about calculation and strategy.
If you do all this work and you say, look at all these happy children and seniors and businesses and everyone wants this thing, and a politician says no or ignores you or spits on your face or whatever, and then they go about their life and nothing happens to them. If they're like, cool, I just said no to Tom and Tom's friends and my life was not meaningfully changed in any way, what's the lesson there? What did you just teach them? You just taught them, oh, they can say no to me and be fine. I'm talking political consequences here. Like that, and a fun fact about political consequences, it's not that hard to enact some of them. It's very hard to be like, they said no, and now I'm going to kick them out of office. Like that's a big lift. But they said no, so I'm going to talk to every single person who signed that petition. I'm going to let every single group that signed the coalition letter know, hey, you know how you wanted our streets to be safer for kids? The mayor said no. You have enough people on your side. That puts the mayor in a very awkward position. They said, well, I didn't say no. I said not yet, or I would like a different thing. Or like, okay, we'll do that different thing or make us happier. Like creating consequences, making sure that you're booping them on the snoot, politically speaking, is a really key part. It's not about you having conflict with your mayor or anything like that. And ideally, it's about getting along. But it's about you helping make sure there's a lot of people, that you're on the side of a lot of people, that you've gotten a lot of people on the side. That's who they're saying no to. They're not saying no to you. You're just enabling all this stuff.
Okay, that's it. I hope you liked that video. A big thanks to Carter. This is his book. Don't forget to pick it up. Thanks for watching, and a big thank you to Shifter sponsors and members for making this channel possible. I'll see you next time.